and welcome back to the Shelby The Macaw YouTube channel. I'm Carly. This is not Shelby, this is Tommy, and in today's video we're going to be showing you our brand new military macaw. If you're new to this channel, then thank you so much for joining me on this particular video. Please watch this one right through to the end. We go into detail about Tommy, introducing Tommy to our flock, how Shelby has adapted to having Tommy around the house, but also the importance of adopting over shopping. And we're going to be talking about some of the massive mistakes we've made along the way, and basically opening up to where we went wrong in getting Tommy and bringing him into our flock. So please do consider subscribing to join this journey, and let's jump straight into introducing Tommy to you guys. Introducing to you, ladies and gentlemen, to the Shelby The Macaw YouTube channel, our brand new macaw, Tommy. Hello, good boy. This is Tommy, and he's our 2-year-old military macaw, and he's been with us for 2.5 weeks now. First of all, Tommy came to us 2.5 weeks ago. He's been with us 2.5 weeks at the point of recording this, and what an amazing 2.5 weeks we've had with him. He's a really, really gorgeous boy. If only he wasn't as noisy, he would be completely and utterly perfect. But there is a bit of a backstory to how Tommy came into our life, and I'm going to go into that with you now. And this involves me really opening up to you guys and bringing you into my heart, my home, my emotions, and basically expressing how badly I judged this whole situation. I really, really wanted to use this opportunity to learn from my mistakes and explain to you guys how to avoid the same mistakes we made. So Dan and I, we already own Shelby, we got Shelby from a breeder. We were looking to add a new macaw to our flock several months ago. Around 6 months ago, we started really actively looking to add a new macaw to our flock. And we already had Shelby from a breeder, and we decided to go down the breeder route again. We decided to get another macaw from the breeder we used for Shelby, and we didn't see a major problem with this because we thought, well, we are still helping people out there. I don't like birds on my hair, no thank you. I thought that we're still helping people out there by talking about birds and by showing people how to properly care for birds. And I just thought, well, this bird already exists, it's already been born, it's already been hatched from the breeder. Go to a perch. So I might as well just take a breeder bird. Despite telling you guys out there, always look to adopt over shopping, I wasn't listening to my own advice, and I thought that just because one day I hope to own a sanctuary and I hope to rescue lots of birds in the future when I have lots of land, I thought I can't possibly be adding to the problem right now because one day I'll rescue and save all of the birds. Well, I was very, very wrong. When Dan and I started looking for a baby macaw from a breeder, we weren't looking for any old macaw, we were looking for a Buffin's macaw. And the reason we were looking for a Buffin's macaw is because the personality types felt like it suited our family, because certain breeds have certain personalities, like militaries are bitey and snappy and horrible and mean, and Buffin's macaws were gentle giants, and green wings are gentle giants, and blue and golds are clowns. And I basically thought, well, Buffin's macaw is a gentle one, so why not get one of those? Secondly, the reason I looked at Buffin's macaw is because of how endangered they were in the wild. And there are less than 400 Buffin's macaws in the wild, less than 400. And I thought, well, I can use my following and my platform to talk to the world about Buffin's macaws and the fact that they're probably the next macaw to go extinct. And it really, really hurt my heart to think that that they could possibly go extinct and we'd never see them again. And they're the second largest macaw in the world. They're absolutely stunning. And so that to me felt like a good idea. So the next thing we did was share this news with our close friends, and this is where the journey began. In sharing our news with our friends, we had our eyes opened to how damaging this could possibly be to macaws in this country and in the world. As people that have a platform on the internet, what we do is tend to tell people to adopt over shop. We always tell people to please don't support breeders if you can possibly help it. And we weren't doing that ourselves, and so we weren't being authentic to ourselves. And our friends reminded us of that. They reminded us that we need to remain authentic, and that if we're going to tell the world to adopt over shop, then we need to either be doing that ourselves or stop telling people to do that. So that was sort of the first eye-opening moment for us. Secondly, our friends explained to us that, do you think it is sensible to bring a massively endangered bird into your home, advertising it to the world as a pet, and showing the world and all of our nearly 500,000 followers across all social media that they make great pets? Is that a good idea? And with their massive decline in the wild, it shocks me that I didn't think this for myself in the first place. But of course, bringing a nearly extinct bird into my home and showing the world this is my pet, of course that is going to do nothing but damage the already delicate nature of their position in the wild. I hadn't thought of that myself. I was being selfish. I was acting too quickly. I wasn't thinking straight, and thank God that our friends opened our eyes to this. In being so open with us, our friends basically made us stop in our tracks and reconsider our actions. And Dan and I sat down and we said, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Why are we bringing an endangered species into the home? Yes, we can pretend to talk about it and spread awareness about the dangers of this bird going extinct. Yes, we can show the world how beautiful they are and how badly we need to be helping them, but is making them a pet of ours supporting those claims? No, it's just advertising them as pets. It's going to increase the bird trafficking trade for that particular breed. There's only 400 left in the wild, so we could have had such a huge negative impact on their existence in the wild, and that hurts me to think. Even if we hadn't chosen a Buffin's macaw and we'd chosen a blue and gold macaw, which is not in a vulnerable position in the wild, there are plenty of them, we could not have continued telling you guys to always adopt over shop. We couldn't have carried on saying that because the 2 macaws we own come from breeders. No. So when we got Shelby, we didn't know anybody in the community. We didn't have any bird friends. We got Shelby through a breeder because that's all I really thought of. It's all I really understood. In my head, I was like, I want a bird that free flies. You can't possibly free flight train a rescue macaw. I also heard horror stories about rescue macaws. And so we got Shelby, and I don't regret that decision. I don't regret Shelby at all. She's in our lives for a reason. She's a beautiful, beautiful bird. You guys love her. But in doing so, I did support a breeder. And had I gone ahead and got another breeder bird and brought it into my home, I couldn't have possibly continued preaching to you guys about adopting over shopping, because if I'm not going to behave in a way that I am asking you guys to behave, then I really have no right to preach. I really have no right to have a platform. So after this it was a very difficult conversation we had with our friends. It was very eye-opening. It was very emotional. It really did make such a difference. And Dan and I stopped and sat down and said, right, we really need to reconsider what we're doing here and what we're hoping to do for birds in the world. And of course, we want to make a difference. Of course we care. Of course we want to save the birds. We want to rescue the birds. We want them to stop being pets. We want them to fly if they are. We want them to live a life they deserve to live, because it is not their fault that they are brought into the UK from all over the world and made to be the pets of human beings. And of course, I want to change all of that. Of course, I want to make a difference. And so we said, right, let's get a rescue macaw. Let's stop going on about everybody should be adopting over shopping. Let's actually do it ourselves. Let's put ourselves to the challenge. And there are a couple of reasons we wanted to go to a breeder first. Let me list off the reasons that we wanted to get a baby macaw. Baby macaws are easier to train. Baby macaws are easier to free fly. Baby macaws are less aggressive. Baby macaws bite less. Baby macaws are less damaged. Baby macaws are easier to put onto the best and the right diet. Baby macaws are easier to put into a household that is full of children and other animals. Baby macaws take up less time and effort. And baby macaws are cheaper vet-wise and healthier. And now I'm going to explain to you all of the myths that I was listening to when it comes to rescue birds. Rescue birds are more aggressive. Rescue birds have lots of health conditions. Rescue birds have behavior problems. Rescue birds are noisier. Tommy! Rescue birds don't get on with children and they bite children and they're aggressive to children and they're a risk to children. Rescue birds don't get on with other animals like dogs and cats. You don't know the past of a rescue bird, you don't know their birthday, you don't know their breeder, you don't know where they've come from or what they've been exposed to. Rescue birds are unpredictable and bring a risk to you as their owner. Rescue birds are impossible to train. It takes years and years and years to free fly, if you manage to free fly a rescue bird at all. So these are all of the reasons that we were like, let's get a baby bird from a breeder over a rescue bird from God knows where. And we managed to convince ourselves that we were doing the right thing for us and our family. And thank God for our friends who opened our eyes that we can do it. We can own a rescue bird. And so we started looking for a rescue bird. We started looking to rehome a bird that already had a previous past history. And we came across Tommy. Let's explain a little bit now about Tommy's past and how he came to be with us. So Tommy was being advertised online as a rehome. The owner didn't have time for him. The owner didn't really get on with him. And so he was looking for someone to buy his macaw off him, this guy. And he advertised Tommy as being a bird called Rio, and that he's 2 years old, and that he's really loving, gentle, he's steps up lovely, he's really easy to handle, all of these things. And I FaceTimed the guy, and the bird looked lovely on the FaceTime, but I said to the guy, can you handle him please so that I can see you handling him? And he kind of put his hand out, and Tommy on the video went to bite his hand and stepped back and screamed and wouldn't go near him. And he was like, oh, it's because he's on this particular cage. He was standing on top of a cage. It's because he's on this cage that I can't handle him. But if he's on any other surface, I can. And I was like, okay, so whatever, let's just move on from that. Then we had a bit of a discussion back and forward. I needed to see his CITES, which is the certificate that comes with birds that are more endangered in the wild, and militaries are more endangered in the wild. So I needed to see that he had his CITES certificate. I needed to see other paperwork that he had access to. And this guy had the hatch certificate and DNA as well. So we had a date of birth for him, and we knew that he was male. This all matched up with his leg ring, so the identification number on his leg ring matched what was on the paperwork. And so we drove all the way from Bedfordshire to Bradford to pick Tommy up on this lovely day, and where we went was absolutely stunning. It was really gorgeous area. And we went inside this home. What we thought was sort of a rehome. We were bringing home a bird that just wasn't wanted but was generally cared for and loved. It turned out to be a little bit more than that, although Tommy could have come from a much worse place. Like, there are birds that are in such worse condition. This wasn't an abuse or neglect situation. This was more of, well, I thought a rehome. But when we got in there, it kind of was a bit worse than I expected. Tommy was disgusting. Like, he looked gross. He had thick grease all over his feathers like this. His feathers looked black, like they were black on his back. And like, where we looked at him, touched him, his feathers looked thick with grease, and just this horrible oil all over his body. Hello, baby. Yeah, that's it. His nose looked blocked with like lumps of, I don't know what, like crusty lumps around his nares. The skin, the feathers were gone. I don't know whether he'd been rubbing his face against bars of a cage, but his face seemed quite scabby and dry and scaly and just horrible. He looked really gross, and his feet were swollen. He had sores under his feet. He smelt awful. He smelt so bad. He almost smelt like urine. His nails were overgrown. He stepped up on our hand, managed to eventually get him to step up on us. Hello, baby. and he had the sharpest claws. They were like needles. They were really, really, really painful, and he just wasn't in the best condition, and we felt really, really sorry for him. And we managed to get him into the crate whilst we were there. But whilst we were there, this guy had other birds, and he had this big cockatoo. I don't know what type of cockatoo it was, but it was a very big one. And it was in this tiny, tiny cage in a corner. Hello, sweetie. Hello. It had sheets draped all over it, so it was sort of in the dark. Ow, that hurt. It had a big bowl of seeds in its cage. And outside the front of his house, he had like this acrylic cabinet that had birds in it, just on the driveway. All these tiny little birds just flapping around in this acrylic clear box thing. And he had other birds these cakes, birds that were just, he'd grab them by the body and just be like, look at this bird, and would hold it like it was a burrito. And then when he tried to let it fly, there were really weak flies, so they'd smack into the walls and smack into the windows, and even Dan was like, oh my God. Because this bird flew at him and missed his head and smacked into the window next to Dan where he was standing. He was like, oh wow, what is going on? And poor Tommy, who was called Rio at the time, but then the guy kept calling him Monty as well. Was like, Monty, Rio, Monty, and he couldn't, and I was like, what is his name? And he was like, oh, he doesn't really answer, so we don't really have a proper name for him. We got Tommy out of the house, into the cage, and into the car, and the guy honestly didn't look back, didn't look at us twice. He was like, goodbye. I said to him, does he want updates on Tommy's care? Does he want to see like him in a few months' time, like pictures? And he was like, oh no, don't bother with any of that, I don't care. And which I find really, really strange. Like, I become very emotionally attached to everything. Like, if I say goodbye to a crisp wrap packet, I'm like, oh, goodbye. And then we brought Tommy home, and the first thing we did was wash him. We brought him into the garden in his crate and just hosed him down because we felt disgusting. Like, our hands were gross from touching him. We smelt because he smelt, and he really appreciated it. Like, he loved the shower. He was like dancing around in his crate, and it was very, very exciting. He was screaming a lot. As you can tell, he screams a lot. And then life with Tommy began. Shelby became aware very quickly that there was another bird in the house. She could see him from a distance sometimes, but the important thing that we had to keep doing was quarantining, and we're still doing that now. Like 2.5 weeks later, we're still quarantining. Tommy has had to be disease tested, as all new birds should be. Awesome video on disease testing by Soaring Wings Flock. Please go check that out. I'll leave that description down below. But disease testing, super important. But we booked an appointment to get Tommy to the vet to be tested for diseases. Him and Shelby cannot officially meet properly until those results come back. Until then, Tommy is just living life. He's living his best life. His diet has changed. He is training every single day. Obviously, he will be flying one day alongside Shelby. We will be free flying him, and his training is coming on beautifully. He's so motivated to train. He's so eager to please. He's the sweetest, sweetest bird you'll ever see. Like, he's just so gentle and calm. He's so chilled out. Like, all of those myths that I told you earlier on about rescue birds, he just blows each one of them out of the water. He's not aggressive. He doesn't bite. He adapted so well to Shadow and the cat. Like, he just doesn't care that they exist. The dog came up and sniffed his butt, and he was like, okay, whatever. So he must have had dogs in his life at some point. Like I say, we are his third home. He eats super well. He's not great at eating pellets, but we'll get there. He eats chop really, really well. He loves his veg. He loves picking around his veg and eating different things. Hi, baby! He's just generally such a lovely, lovely bird. He's such a sweet guy. He's got the cutest face. The only problem we're having with Tommy at the moment is the fact that he screams. He doesn't like being left alone at all. He gets really, really anxious if we leave the room. But he does have this, as you can tell, really shrill, high-pitched screech, and it's so ear-piercing, and we feel very bad for our neighbours. But this is an anxiety thing. He doesn't like it when everything's split up. He doesn't like it when Shelby's outside or Dan leaves the room, or even the kids leave the room. He just likes to see everyone. When it comes to the children, oh my gosh, he loves children. He really, really does. He brightens up when the children come in the room. They walk up to him, they go, "Hi, Tommy," and he starts dancing and head bobbing and like doing all these cool things that he does not do when to us, like to adults. He only does it to the children. He really does enjoy the presence of children. Don't you, sweet boy? He just loves being like scratched and fussed over. Probably not right now because you're not sure about the camera, are you? I feel like with 4 children, a dog, a cat, a macaw, and a really small house, I really feel like if we can rescue a bird over getting a breeder bird, getting a baby bird, then so can you. There really is no excuse for baby birds. Like, you can tell yourself that you're saving it from potentially going to a crap home in the first place. What you're doing is giving money to a breeder, and it's sad for these birds because they shouldn't be here in our homes. They shouldn't be bred the way they are, because there are already thousands and thousands in need of homes across the UK, across the world. Tommy, in his 2 years, he's still a baby, still a little baby that would be with his parents in the wild. He's been with 3 different homes. He has no idea whether he's coming or going. We need to be bringing this to a stop and controlling this in some way. And if we can bring home the sweetest, goodest boy and turn him into a free flight bird and train him and just make such a success of this, then you can too. Obviously we have Shelby from a breeder, so I can't like full on say don't ever, because it's the worst thing. You're horrible, because I've done it. But since then I have educated myself and I have changed, and with the support of my friends I have changed, and I feel like I can now come from a place of genuine like desperation. There are so many of them that need homes. And I couldn't be without him now. He is ours now, and he will be with us forever now. And I'm so happy about that. Like, that just makes me so happy. Sweet Tommy boy is ours. Hey? So be sure to follow along. I know this is a really long video, but I really hope you were able to take something from it and understand the message. Like, we just genuinely want people to be doing the right thing for these birds. And if you feel like you need to own one, then adopt. What would you think about it? What do you have to say? Do people adopt or shop? Goodbye. So thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for sticking with me on this one. We hope to see you in the next video. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, then please do. Join Tommy, Shelby, me, Dan, Case and Alyssa, Ben and Phoebe, Shadow and Elsa, that's everybody in our household, on some amazing journeys, family vlogs, training, macaw ownership, the good, the bad, the ugly, and all the rest of it, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye! Say goodbye. 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 He's way more comfortable sitting on a perch than a person. We were just very naive. We weren't really sure what we were doing. And so I actually hate all of this, like this entire recording. So showing the world that these animals... This noisy boy. Tommy. Tommy. Good boy. Come. Come. Tommy. Tommy is... They're one of the rarest birds in the world. Never work with animals. And our friends enlightened us to this. They basically, ow, oh, you're scratching me. We've introduced him to our tiny little ever-growing flock, and I hate this as well. I can't remember what I just said. Come on then, Tommy. Come on. What's this, Tommy? Oh, this is going so wrong. And then, stop screaming, please. For 1 second, stop.